Good evening and welcome. I'm Sheila Balgobin and I am the Dream Decipherer, and I help you to crack the code of your sleep and dreams so you can sleep sound and dream deep. This evening, I have a pair of dreams and which feature disembodied voices. So we'll find out what these disembodied voices had to say and what they meant for the dreamer. The first dream, the dreamer reports that he was moving into a new shared house with someone by the name of Johnny Jedi. And this new roommate or housemate was putting books on a number of books on a shelf, and apparently had a huge collection of books on nature in some form or other. The two of them decided that they were going to throw a party, a house party, and do some DJing while they were there. I mean, at this while the party was going on, and that's the first dream. The second dream, the dreamer was visiting a new beachside town in Cornwall, which is the furthest west as you can get in the UK. And while as whoever we were, were driving, perhaps with this roommate, perhaps with someone else, it's not clear. But as they were driving to this new beach town, the dreamer realized that he didn't have a surfboard with him, and the this is where the first time we hear of this disembodied voice. And the disembodied voice of the person that the dreamer names as the dream decipherer, that is me, um, told him not to worry, that it would be okay. And he continues on his journey along a coastal road on and past a saltwater estuary. Now, he finally arrives in town with this group or other person, we're not sure which, and there was a lot of activity going on, a lot of nightlife, a lot of young people wandering around doing what young people may do during the night when they go out. The dreamer reports walking along wearing a red lifeguard hoodie, and when passing a bunch of actual lifeguards who were in their red outfits, they let him pass. They didn't make any remarks. They just let him go on his way. The Following that, apparently there was some kind of public event going on, and the dreamer reports that he was standing along with a whole bunch of people on a window ledge of a new hotel very high up in the building. And it was very precarious, as you can imagine, and dangerous, as the ropes that the people were holding on to were not actually attached to the building. What they were attached to doesn't say, but they weren't attached to the building, and therefore could not be considered trustworthy with regard to keeping them from falling and to great injury or death from so high up. But here again, we hear this disembodied voice saying, advising the dreamer to remain calm and not to panic, that everything would be okay. And there ends the dream, the second dream. Now, there's a number of things going on here, but let's start with the first dream and this new house. Now, with the new roommate. Now, this houses generally will can represent our inner lives, the different parts of our inner lives, and a new house could indicate a new way of thinking, a new way of doing things, a new way of being. But this new house is shared with a housemate and called Johnny Jedi. Now, there's the implication there, if one thinks of this house as being the inner life of the dreamer, that there is a two sides, if you will, to this dreamer's inner life. There's one part that's recognized as the dreamer, and then there's this other part that's recognized as this Johnny Jedi. Now, Johnny Jedi may or may not be someone who actually exists in the waking world of the dreamer, but it's quite possible that this person actually represents the shadow. And psychologically, what that means is the shadow is the part of us, usually represented in our dreams as the same sex, not necessarily the same age, but certainly the same sex, and is the less developed or unrecognized part of ourselves. And I would ask the dreamer, is there some part of themselves that resonates with this Johnny Jedi and his collection of nature books? Um, but if there's an actual person, what does this person evoke in the dreamer? What does that person represent, and how possibly that person is represents some aspect of the dreamer himself? Now, it's interesting that this roommate is putting books on, or housemate is putting books on a shelf, a bunch of nature books, and that kind of to me implies that there's some kind of rearranging or of the inner life in some way, perhaps some new knowledge or wisdom that's being brought to light. And the fact that they were nature books about the natural world, about the animal kingdom, supposedly, which is interesting because humans have a tendency to forget that they're just another animal on this planet, a more destructive one at times, but certainly just another animal. And if you don't believe that, then we wouldn't be having viruses jumping from animals to us. So we're obviously just another animal, slightly more intelligent. So this dreamers, this these nature books could be an implication, and perhaps it looking at ways to act in a more natural way or more in harmony with the natural world, or return to perhaps to a more natural life. But it's apparently a great interest to this housemate, and it provides a whole lot of information for the dreamer to perhaps look at. Then the dreamer and the housemate decide that they're going to throw a party and do some DJing. It's a housewarming party, but welcoming people into this new space. Um, but to extrapolate a little bit, on the wider sense, this could be an introduction to a new life, a new attitude, a new um, inner space within the dreamer. If we move on to the second dream, the dreamer reports visiting a new beach town in Cornwall, which is in the southwestern or extreme west or southwest, depending on where you are in the UK. And I would ask the dreamer here, what is significance does Cornwall as a county or as a place have for the dreamer? The dreamer reports not having their surfboard, and that kind of hints back, if you will, to the first dream where there is a change is occurring, and perhaps the dreamer is in a sense riding the waves or wanting to ride the waves of change. But this disembodied voice, which was ultimately my voice, said, just take it light. It's okay. Not to stress. It's all right. Now, the appearance of a therapist or counselor in a client's dreams uh, can be a couple of things. It could either be kind of a report card, which is a way of the unconscious telling the dreamer, I mean, telling the therapist as it happens, if they're on the right track with something, or if they're off with the fairy somewhere. That's one role that dreams can play when the therapist or counselor appears in a dream. The other is that the dreamer at some level has in a sense almost placed the therapist on a pedestal, and they become the voice, the guru, the voice of wisdom, the voice of God, whatever it is, but kind of looks to them to be that guiding pole star, if you will. But it can also, and I would like to think that this may be the truest bit, it can also represent the dreamer's own inner wisdom, but seen from an external view as opposed to being internalized. It has been internalized, but it's not his truth just yet. It's the therapist or counselor's truth that is being recalled and remembered. So that's the explanation for my disembodied voice actually appearing in this dreamer's dream, which is interesting because technically I am not this dreamer's therapist at all. I'm not working with them in a therapeutic way, and but it just goes to show you that the relationship between a therapist and and their client can actually become quite intimate at an unconscious level. But we'll move on from that. The disembodied voice actually gives instructions to the dreamer to not to worry about, but not to worry about what? Not to worry about not having a surfboard and being able to surf the waves. What was the dreamer not supposed to be worrying about isn't very clear. Now, from there, the dreamer reports driving along the coast, and the what came up for me was that somebody that's kind of coasting along, not really getting anywhere in particular, or just kind of wandering, but just kind of getting by and coasting along. And I wonder if there's some area of the life of the dreamer, waking life of the dreamer, where they're just coasting along without necessarily any specific destination. During this drive, the dreamer also reports that they drove past an estuary, which is um, a tidal river, if you will. It's where the seawater and river water will actually mix and meet, and it's driven by tides, by the ocean tides pushing into the river and then back out again. So there's an implication of an ebb and flow. Um, Perhaps in the dreamer's life, there's different things coming and going, or that there's a mixture of things. Again, that there's seems to be things marching in twos in this particular set of dreams. But there's also the implication that there's perhaps shifting tides in life, which maybe it refers to ways of being or moods. So there's something there about maybe movement in a cyclical kind of way, coming and going on a regular basis. Then the dreamer turns up in town at night, supposedly, since seems to be a lot of nightlife activity going on with lots of people, lots of young people in particular. And I wonder if this might possibly be a reference to the current lockdown, where there have been young people in particular have been vilified because they can be young and thoughtless and congregate when they shouldn't be, and not practicing social distancing, not wearing masks, getting drunk and acting stupid. So there's I just wonder if there's an oblique reference to young people and their behavior during these times of COVID. um, and it's particularly poignant because, as I say, currently we are in lockdown again, and young people they're finding, in terms psychologically, are suffering quite a lot. 7 to 12 year olds in particular are suffering quite a bit because of this lockdown, becoming very depressed. So we leave the town and the nightlife, and it's carefree and full of life and full of activity. And the dreamer is strolling along, presumably during this nighttime period, and he's wearing this a red hoodie that is the same as what the lifeguards will actually wear. And the color is always significant in a dream, or the lack of it. And I would ask the dreamer here, what does red represent for the dreamer? I mean, you can think of red as can signal danger. It may signify passion. So what exactly does it mean for the dreamer that this hoodie was red? And what does the hoodie itself mean? I mean, there's a perception in some circles that it's thugs basically that wear hoodies, and therefore there's the implication that they're up to somehow no good. There's also, a hoodie will conceal your identity to a certain extent if you pull the hood up. And I wonder if there's some aspect of the dreamer's life where, either he feels like wearing a hood or actually wears one and wears some kind of mask to hide some aspect of himself, or hide himself from others in some way. Nevertheless, despite this red hoodie, the lifeguards actually ignored him. And I wonder if here this is represents an area of the life in the life of the dreamer where the supposed guardians are ignoring the dreamer's concerns, whether it be regarding to his appearance or to some kind of danger. And again, I wonder if this is an oblique reference to what's going on currently in the world in terms of the virus, and that the people who are supposed to be our guardians and supposed to be taking care of us seem to be doing a half-assed job of it. Quite frankly, they really don't seem to have a clue, and leave people just confused, and there's a lot of misinformation as well. So our guardians are not doing their job. They're just kind of letting things pass, and not quite getting things right. I also would ask if there's something around mistaken identity. This dreamer is dressed up in the guise of a lifeguard, but actually isn't, but yet passes unnoticed regardless. And so there's something about identity, or mistaken identity, or false identity, perhaps. Then from there, the dreamer goes on, and there's a public event of some kind, maybe a opening, a party, who knows? It's not clear, at a brand new hotel, which um, is very strange, in that the people are up at the top of the building somewhere, and they're all standing on a window ledge with ropes that are attached to nothing. Which, the first thing that came to me is like this classic um scenario in movies about people who are, are living on the edge and desperate, and they climb up onto a window ledge and threaten to jump. So it's a classical place where people who feel that they're at the end of their rope and there's nowhere to go, that the only place to go is down. And I wonder if there's some area of the dreamer's life where they feel like they're on a knife edge or a window ledge, and that it's precarious up there, but you have to be careful not to fall. Now, is there, um, there's no safety net. It would the implication being that the thing that was supposed to be keeping them safe, these ropes, are not attached to the building or apparently anything else. So what are they attached to, or what does the dreamer need to hold on to feel safe? He calls this rope, or these ropes that the PP and other people were holding on to, untrustworthy. And there's an implication, perhaps, that in some area of the dreamer's life, something does not feel trustworthy. That's not something that they can hold on to, and leaves them feeling very insecure. Now, is the question again? Is there some area in the dreamer's life that feels like falling off a cliff if they're not careful? Then we hear the voice of the disembodied, um, disembodied voice of counsel again. And the dreamer is told at this point that it's just stay calm, not to panic, that all would be well. Now, this dreamer, it seems to be perhaps expressing concern about this new state. There's a new house, there's a new hotel, which is a larger house, and a new town. So that their newness seems to be linking all of these things. And I wonder if there are any emotional or mental shifts that are going on currently with the dreamer in waking life. And perhaps the next question to ask is, is the dreamer finding these changes or shifts disturbing or frightening in somehow? But never, despite his fears and concerns, this inner voice, or disembodied voice, but I would prefer to think of it as inner wisdom, um, counsels to be calm and to trust. And the expression that I use often with my clients is that you are the expert on you. Know that you know, and trust yourself. Don't give your power away to other people, but to trust yourself. And I wonder if there are areas in the dreamer's life where there may be a bit of distrust of their feelings, their thoughts, or reactions to things. And the inner wisdom is appearing and saying, don't sweat it. Trust yourself. Stay calm. It's okay. Now, what links the different parts of this dream is this newness that's and changes that seem to be indicative. There's a new house, new town, new hotel, as I've just said, and which implies that there's a new state or change or flux of some kind going on within the dreamer's inner house or emotional life. But there's also worry or concern mixed in with that, if falling off a window ledge, you know going surfing without a surfboard, I guess, not being able to ride the waves because of the lack of a surfboard. So, and the again, the idea of kind of this notion of some kind of danger, or being called out for false pretenses with the red hoodie, seems to imply as well that there's some danger or perceived danger on the part of the dreamer. Nevertheless, the inner wisdom of the dreamer, as expressed by the disembodied voice, encourages the dreamer to just relax and go with the flow and trust the process, despite the appearances and the fear. So, what um, perhaps started as a dream about disembodied visitations actually is a interesting sign and an encouraging sign that the dreamer is starting to demonstrate or to allow the inner wisdom, even if it's in the dream expressed through a different party or another entity, is starting to draw on that inner wisdom and be able to ride out these changes that are going on within the dreamer. So there you have it. We have disembodied voices and different activities going on, from parties and nightlife and surfing. And I believe that it's the newness of all of this that is kind of rocking the dreamer's world at the moment. But as the dream said, don't sweat it. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Have a great evening and rest of the week, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.